Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Renck on a victory Friday for your Denver Broncos. They absolutely boxed the ears of the New Orleans Saints. A big, easy win for Coach Sean Payton in his dome coming back in New Orleans. His first game coaching back there since he quit and retired, essentially. I thought he was retired, but quit in 2021. He returns as the conquering coach that he was and absolutely puts the smackdown on his former team. It was so bad that with about 8 minutes left, the crowd had almost completely filed out. I'm sitting there in the upper deck, and the Broncos fans behind the Broncos benchers yelling, "Let's go Broncos." And then this one random fan, it's so silent there, just yells, "Sean, you suck." I think he might have heard him. He probably smiled if he did. Sean Payton gets the game ball from owner Greg Penner as the Broncos win 4 of their last 5 games now. They're in the hunt again after that just disappointing and demoralizing loss to the Chargers. Essentially, they take care of business. As Mike Thomas says, you're in the business of winning. And if you are, even in this year, a transition year, you have to beat bad teams. And the Saints, folks, man, are they a bad team right now. Some of it's coaching. Dennis Allen, if he survives the season, I'll be surprised. Fans have turned on him there. And they are just devastated and decimated by injuries. And they are allergic to tackling, and that's part of their issue. But the Broncos need not apologize for any road win ever. If you look at their record over the last 8 years, there's no reason they should ever say sorry for beating a bad team. Usually, the Broncos have been the get-right game for other teams. The Saints were the get-right game for them. Sean Payton has now beaten all 32 NFL teams. Obviously, you have to coach for 2 teams to do that, but he's now done that. He's like the 8th coach to do that. The Broncos back in the mix. They used an interesting offensive attack, one I loved, but one we must question going forward. Broncos win. Sean lets Bo cook. They are now 4-3. What does it all mean? We're going to break it down and hear from several of the players in the locker room. I was there last night and caught the 5 a.m. flight back home so I could do the pod with Big A here behind the screen. Let you guys in on what we saw, what happened, and where the Broncos go from here. We're going to get to all of that after the break. Have you been injured in a car wreck or hurt at work? What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Hoggett Injury Law a call. Their motto, and they keep it simple. It's personal. It's because it is. Darby Hoggett is about forming relationships with people, becoming their good friends. He's been a good friend of mine. Many of his clients become his good friend. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. If your case goes as planned, Darby will be the one writing a check to you. So again, if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, give Darby's team a call. That's 1-833-HOGGATT. That's 1-833-HOGGET, or visit the website at hoggettlaw.com. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup, breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. They have the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, to even political props. When the game's over, head over to their online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker. Maybe just unwind with one of their 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. That's BetOnline. The game starts here. Welcome back to the Broncos Pod. I am Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Hope you have a chance to read my column that's in the Denver Post from the game. And that's what we're going to break down, and that's where our headline is, Let Bo Cook. The Broncos offense was impressive last night. They absolutely punched the Saints in the mouth. Again, the Saints are terrible. But the idea the Broncos shouldn't be happy about that, encouraged by that, is hilarious. The Broncos are in a rebuild year, and they're playing a bad team, and they did what you're supposed to do to bad teams. But what made this game interesting was because of the schedule, the Thursday night. And I want fans, Broncos country, those who are critical of Bo Nix, and you should be at times, but context matters this specific week, this specific game. When you play a Thursday night game, your practice is iPads, not in real pads. You literally do 3 walkthroughs. You don't practice. That's the weird part about the NFL on a Thursday. You don't practice. It's essentially mental reps and walking through. And so because of the short week, what did the Broncos do? They do what a good coach should do in Sean Payton. You don't complicate it. You step back, because football coaches love to complicate things. They love to turn football into NASA, and it's not a lot of times. It's not as easy as maybe a sports columnist might think it is, but they make it way harder than it needs to be sometimes. So on a Thursday night game, coming off a terrible performance for 50 minutes against the Chargers, Sean Payton steps back and asks the simple question, what do we do well? What is our quarterback doing well? Let's do that. What is Bo Nix doing well right now, as well as any quarterback not named Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels? Run the football. He is a legit threat in the run game. A legit threat. And I know fans hear that and they're like, oh my God, we don't want Tim Tebow. It's not sustainable. He's not Tim Tebow. There's moments when he's inaccurate where he somehow missed 2 open receivers on the same play in Lucas Krull and Troy Franklin that reminded me of Tebow. But in general, he's not Tebow. Tebow's favorite receiver was the ground. Bo Nix is not that inaccurate. But Bo Nix can run, folks. And on a Thursday night, it's about one thing, winning the game. We're not worried about – I'm driving in from the airport at 7:30 this morning or whatever time it was. This constant discussion of it's just about his development, and he didn't take a step forward in his development. The big picture is the Thursday night game was not. Sean Payton was going to win this game, folks. There's no way in hell he's going to go lose to a Saints team that has lost 3 straight that can't stop anybody. So he doesn't have to prove to anybody about the macro picture of Bo Nix's development as a passer on this night. This night was taking what we do well and applying that against the bad Saints team. And Bo Nix runs for 75 yards. It's one of the 5th most by a quarterback in Broncos history. There was a point there I thought he might get 100. Just if you're curious, and this is in my column today in the Denver Post, the record is Norris Weiss as a quarterback for the Broncos in rushing yards in a single game, 120 in 1976. Tebow did not have the record. But the 75 Nix had, that's more than John Elway ever had. And you say, well, John Elway wasn't a running quarterback. No, but he was a scrambling quarterback and had huge runs scrambling. So I was a little surprised he didn't have a number that began with an 8 early in his career, because he did run a lot early in his career. More, again, not design runs, but scrambles. Bo Nix ends up with 75. Nix, at this point, through 7 games, is on pace for 615 yards rushing. That would be just shy of Tim Tebow's quarterback franchise record of 660 in 2011. And again, you hear the Tebow comparisons and it makes you cringe. I get that. He's not Tebow. Just because he has some traits like Tebow, he's very religious, he has confidence in the face of just absolute disbelief, and he's crazy athletic with his legs, he has a future as a passer. Now, it's going to have to develop, and I want to get into that. But for this game, they used the pass attack. They threw 21 times in the first half, and they used the passes where Sean Payton was Rodney Dangerfield and went back to school. And I think he was at Oregon, and I think he was at Auburn. There's quick hitters and slants to Troy Franklin. There's quick hitters to Marvin Mims. Thank you, Mims. Thank you, Sean Payton, for releasing him from witness protection. That was a nice gift to the fans. He's throwing screens to Javonte Williams. He had 21 passes at halftime. Only threw 5 times after half. And that was a function of them dominating the Saints and not needing to put the ball in harm's way. So he finishes with 164 yards passing, 75 rushing. That's a great game on a Thursday night for what the kid does well. As I write in my column, is that sustainable in the NFL? It's not. It's not. It's not for his development. That's not what they want to see. We're not going to go play Carolina and try to see if he gets 100 yards rushing. No, but understand it was a Thursday night game, Sean Payton's dome coming in New Orleans, and the Saints defense inability to tackle and having one of the worst rush defenses I've seen in person in years. So they ran the ball with their quarterback, who happens to be one of their best athletes on their team. It's okay. You can take a deep breath and appreciate that. And appreciate, we always ask coach, why don't you do what the players do well instead of fitting them around your system? We scream that about Payton. On this night, he did that. Now, again, the development of Bo Nix is going to be his ability to win from the pocket. And his footwork at times, for someone with great legs, his feet at times are a disaster. He's hopping, he's moving, he's throwing off his back foot. He has to clean that up, no doubt. And it's not just as easy as snap. It's like a pitcher with mechanics. It takes reps, it takes muscle memory. And the problem with football and as professional sports is at times, even with all the practice, once you get into the game, you default to other stuff. You do things that are natural to your body, not that you've practiced. And he's got to get better with his footwork. When he gets outside the pocket, he's got to sit and get on his back foot. When he gets in that pocket, he's got to climb it and drive the football. He had a couple of just brutal passes where he stops his shoulders and just slings it. He's not that guy. He's not Patrick Mahomes' arm where you can get away with bad mechanics and still complete the pass. That said, with Davis Webb as his coach and Sean Payton as his coordinator, this stuff is fixable. It's a challenge. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not. But the idea that we're supposed to be wringing our hands today of, oh my God, the Broncos have another Tebow. And listen, I'm the one who compared him to Tebow against the Jets. That was a Tebow game. Part of it was the weather. It wasn't a monsoon, but part of it was the weather. He could not throw the football. He couldn't grip it. He had the worst first half, basically in the history of the franchise, with -7 yards passing. That's when I compared him to Tebow because of his unwavering confidence and his ability to make a couple plays. What we saw last night was a function of a coach saying, this is what we do well. We're going to win this game. You have a mini bye to self-scout this weekend, and you get back on the horse, if you will, literally and figuratively on Monday, and start working him on these mechanics. But it's not wrong to win the game that way. Would you have rather he looked beautiful in the passing game and go 20 for 30 for 280 yards and they lose? Really? Come on now. Come on. It's the 7th game. You have plenty of time for him to figure this out. And if he doesn't, it's going to be alarming. It's going to be concerning. And it's his legacy and the Sean Payton's legacy, they're attached at the hip. So it's got to get better. But the fact it didn't look beautiful in the passing game on a Thursday night, and people are panicking about that, it seems that is an overreaction. Because you have time to fix this. You do. You do. It's a guy who was basically starting on short rest on a Thursday night. And what does he do well? He scrambles and he runs. And we're going to do that on this game to win. And so they need not apologize for that. Next, going forward, has to improve. We all agree on that. You can't complete around 55, 60% of your passes and be a 1-to-1 touchdown to pick ratio. But 7 games in, he's won 4 games. Let's take a deep breath and see where it's at in the last couple games of the season. We don't have to judge his career. Every game does not have to be a referendum on his career and his mechanics. It's a process. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's not going to be because it didn't work on Thursday night passing. It did work Thursday. A coach fixed and bent the offense to his quarterback so they could win the game. And then you take that and you move on to the next week, understanding that moving forward, you're not going to win a bunch of games. You're not going to win at Baltimore, and you're not going to win at Kansas City with Bo Nix trying to rush for 100 yards. But you can beat the Saints that way, and they did. And they did because they absolutely kicked ass running the football. And that's the topic I want to get to now as I talk to the offensive linemen, Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bolles. Let's have you hear what they had to say after the break. Never a bad time to enhance your home, maybe make it more comfortable. Maybe you're just trying to sell it. Glass doors at a nice touch. That's where Jamie Hay comes in. He and his wife run RBJ Glass. LBJ would be the president. Hey, it's a family business. I've known Jamie forever. So much pride they put in their work. They put in a screen door and a glass door in our house. It's absolutely fantastic. They do everything from European shower enclosures, standard shower glass, mirrors, window and glass replacement, insulated doggy doors, office cubicles, and small commercial storefronts. Give Jamie a call. You're going to love it. Jamie does great work. That number of RBJ Glass, 720-883-3144. That's 720-883-3144. Or email Jamie at rbjglass2017@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Broncos Pod. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your weekend, and thank you for joining me from wherever you are, Broncos country. You're the best. This season is turning out to be a fascinating ride. Ferris Bueller, get on the Ferris wheel and buckle up, folks, because the conversation around Bo Nix is not going to temper down. He's given us so much to talk about, the good and the bad. But this is a win, and they won on Thursday night because they absolutely left tire tracks on the Saints' chest. The Broncos' rushing total was their highest since 2013, near 250 yards. They absolutely put it down. Javonte Williams ran angry. He was angry. The C was angry, and so was Javonte Williams. He ran like a man who was thinking about he might lose his job to Audric Estime. That's out the window now because Estime fumbled again. And Javonte Williams was running with power and purpose and attitude. That last night was the closest he's looked to his rookie season for me since the knee injury. But that's what this was about. This team lining up, smashing him in the mouth. There's a reason they spent $162 million in guaranteed money to McGlinchey, Ben Powers, and Quinn Miners, and the big money previously that to Garrett Bolles to run the football. And they did that. So after the game, I talked to Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bolles about that attitude, about winning at the line of scrimmage, and about Bo Nix's game and his role in the running game. Let's hear from McGlinchey, who is returning from a knee injury himself, and Garrett Bolles after the big win.
So awesome to get this win, especially for, obviously, there's a lot of correlation between our two programs and the guys that have been here. It's always nice to get a win against your former team, especially for our head coach and the rest of the staff and guys that have played here. It's hard to do on a Thursday night on a road trip to be able to do what we did tonight, and very, very proud of what we did, and hopefully we can keep building from it.
You guys played some old school football tonight. You ran the football. I mean, how great was it for you up front?
It was awesome. I think that's a good recipe for us. We were able to have a lot of success on the ground early, and we were able to keep at it all throughout the game. And especially, I know it got a little choppy with some calls there at the end, but getting 10-yard clips with obvious run and with 8 minutes to go in a 30-point game, that says a lot about the statement that we made tonight. And really proud of what we did up front, really proud of the plan, and I thought we executed well.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you.
Coming back right off the one short week and then, starting
I don't recommend taking 5 weeks off from football and just going out and playing without practice. It was a little bit of a stressful week in that regard, but, you got to do what you got to do. And happy to be able to play today. Happy that Bo Lowry, Vince Garcia, Matt Key, the rest of the training staff did an unbelievable job planning with me for the last 4 weeks. They took great care of me, and they take good care of everybody here. And the reason I was able to play today is because of the work those people do and the grind that they put into all of us. And really, really proud of that, and proud to be able to be out there for this one.
What was the key to getting the running game going in the way you did, 225 yards right there?
Yeah, I think it was a good plan. I think, I think we're pretty talented up front. We got some talented tailbacks, and we executed. Truthfully, I think it's a mindset that we have. I think it's something that we want to do. It's something who we want to be, and we were able to take a huge step forward with that.
Does it help that you have a quarterback that has that kind of athleticism? Bo finished with 75 yards on the ground himself.
That's awesome. It certainly helps us out. It adds another dimension to actually, the actual called runs. and certainly creates a lot of spontaneous plays, with his feet in the pocket, escaping the pocket, all those kinds of things. And it adds an extra layer of something that you got to defend. And it's a huge deal for us. Bo's playing lights out for us right now. He's competing so hard, and really, really happy to have him here.
Sean downplayed the emotion of coming here, but you've been around the league for a long time. Is there a sense this one meant a little more?
Yeah. Anytime you spend 20 years at a place, especially with the success that they've had here, and before the game, having Drew being honored and all those kinds of things, it's a big deal. And there's so many people in our building now that have had a little piece of the history here in New Orleans, and it certainly means more going back to where you grew up in the game and accomplishing something that not a lot of people do. That's his 32nd team he's beaten in the NFL. So I think somebody just said he's the 8th person of all time to do that. That's a pretty cool stat. So it's special to be a part of that.
Did he convey that it meant a little more this week, or did he keep that to himself?
No, Coach did a great job of keeping us level-headed. All he said all week was we need to get number 4, and that's what we did.
With Bo, one more about the running with him. Why doesn't he get more credit for being like a true dual-threat quarterback? You never hear him talk about like Jaden Daniels.
Did he run a 40 at the combine? I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe he kept it quiet. I don't know. He had a lot of passing statistics in college, and he was known for that. But keep sleeping on it. That'd be great for us because it's huge for us. It's an added element to our offense, and it's certainly making a lot of plays for us.
A short week is no fun for you, but in some ways with an offense, can there be kind of clarity and brevity? Let's get the things we do well and do them, and not complicate it?
I think so. I think when you only have 2 days to learn, it's like get the important notes for the test and do what you do well. And I think we did that better tonight than we have in the last 6 or 7 weeks. We did our basics well, and it's something that we got to do moving forward is lean on what we do well and how we can accomplish controlling the game, controlling the line of scrimmage, and dictating how we want to win football games.
Most rushing yards in the game for you guys since 2013. How good does it feel when you can kind of just lean on a team to the way that you guys did tonight?
We take pride in running the ball, and that's what we want. We brought Mike in, we got Ben that comes from running offenses, and just feeling what they do, and we clicked tonight. Mike came back, so we had our starting 5 pretty much besides Luke, but Alex stepped up big time for us tonight. Made the right calls, and we just got in the right places and found momentum, just went after them.
What does Bo bring in that added dimension of adding to the ground game when he gets outside?
It's special, man. Bo's a dual threat. He can throw the ball and he can run. He's special, and we need to do our job tonight by protecting him, and we created open lanes in the passing game for him to throw the ball to our playmakers, and we got that the ball rolling. So when we got the ball rolling down the field, it opens up lanes for him to do what he needs to do, and that's what makes him special.
Did you get the sense this week of how much this meant to Sean to come back here and get a win here?
No, we really just wanted to win, to be honest. Obviously we knew it was a big game for him, but we didn't let that get in the way of what we needed to do. And so, after the game, it felt good for him. I know he wanted it deep down inside, but he just, focused on just getting the W, and that's what we did.
Game ball.
Well, you hear it, folks, and again, this is Troy Renck from the Denver Post. The linemen want to be the identity of their offense, this idea that you can run not only when you have to, but when you want to, control the line of scrimmage. That's what the change of culture of this team has to be, needs to be, if they're going to do great things. Now, do you want your quarterback rushing for 50 to 100 yards? No, not consistently. But do you love the fact that he's got it in his back pocket? Yes, you do. But, it's encouraging on how Javonte Williams played. I still believe Audric Estime is going to have a chance to do some special things this year, but he hurt his chances by fumbling. That's his second fumble this year, second lost fumble. You can't put the ball on the ground in the NFL. At Notre Dame, where you're the guy and you're going to get 30 carries and they're going to ride you like a bell cow, it's different. In the NFL, when you're fighting for scratching for chances, you can't put the ball on the ground. But I'm not giving up on Estime. There's a role for him. He's physically, he's a bit of a marvel at times. But give Javonte Williams credit. I mean, early in the year, it got to a point with me, like, I'm not sure he can start. He's just not explosive enough. But maybe it's just, enough time away from the knee injury, being pushed and understanding that maybe his job's in jeopardy. He's playing better. But again, if the Broncos are going to get to 9 wins and end this futility of not having a winning season since 2016, offensively, it's got to start on the ground. They're not going to get there by throwing 35, 45 times. That won't work. So give them credit up front. But now let's get to, and it gets lost in this because of Sean Payton's homecoming, because of the fact that, they're breaking in this rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. There was another homecoming. Vance Joseph is from the New Orleans area. It's where he was recruited and where he signed and played for CU as a quarterback. He is now putting himself in position firmly to get another head coaching job. I mean, would you, and this is just me spitballing, but if you're a Saints fan, would you want Vance Joseph and like Davis Webb as his coordinator to, resurrect that franchise, bring in a guy who's from there? I mean, Dennis Allen's not it. And I don't, Vance has that edge to his personality. I do believe after being in New Orleans for multiple days, talking to so many people back there over the last few weeks, you need an alpha male, an alpha personality to coach that team. That is a trial city that feels like it's constantly being told you're not good enough, you're not Dallas, you're not New York, you're not the Denver. But in football, they need that attitude to come from their coach. And could Vance do that? Maybe. I'll say this. His schemes this year have been impressive. You talk about a guy that's adjusted. When Pat Surtain, he should be back, would be my guess for the Carolina game. When he's back, they're moving him all over. They play him at that star position where he moves over and guards the ones, and they play a crazy amount of man defense with Riley Moss, himself, and Jaquan McMillan, and they blitz at a rate that's alarming. It's like Brian Flores type blitzing. And then in a week like this, they adjust. They knew they didn't have Surtain, so you can play a little more zone. Use your aggression from your linebackers and less corner blitzes and safety blitzes, and it opens up the game to different players. Remember, against the Jets, it's Justin Strnad having a night. And last night, it was the Cody Barton game. We wanted it to be the Will Lutz revenge game. Not a lot of oomph for the kicker, although he took a shot at the fans on Twitter. I got to give it to him, Will Lutz. But it was the Cody Barton game. Now, he ends up with a scoop and score. He should have had a chance to not only scoop and score, but have maybe a pick six. And instead, he just gets one of them. But what a game for him. What a game for Cody Barton and this defense. Another night of 6 sacks. Vance Joseph against Spencer Rattler was the biggest mismatch of the night. Rattler, I like coming out of college. Love his arm, easy cheese, the arm. But, what would those optics have looked like if Spencer Rattler, as a late-round choice, outplayed Bo Nix and the Saints beat Sean Payton in his return? We would have been like, oh, my God, Nix is terrible. They picked the wrong guy. How can you not? Like, if you can't beat the Saints, who can you beat? But instead, Vance Joseph sent the house. He made life miserable for him. They got after him, the 6 sacks. So let's hear from this D that gets another A+. Folks, this is something that will travel. When you want to talk about how this team could get to 9 wins, I want to say they need a physical identity in running the ball. But when you can play defense, that gets on the plane and that goes from place to place. And we've seen that this year. The defense has essentially had like one bad quarter this year at Seattle. Other than that, they've given this team a chance to win every game. They certainly struggled the quarter without Surtain. That's a little different because that first half against the Chargers, it put him into chaos when Surtain went out. Not making an excuse, but there was a reason there. The only time where they've lined up and just got beat was the third quarter by Kenneth Walker at Seattle. Other than that, when you look at the 7-game stats, this defense has been absolutely riding a diary of havoc. So I had a chance to talk quickly to Nik Bonitto about this D, and then we hear also from Cody Barton, the Cody Barton game. Let's hear from these two players.
Nik, did you feel like with Spencer starting a rookie, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to make life miserable for him?
Yeah, and just knowing like I used to play with him back in the day, so I was already joking with him that I'm gonna get after him. But yeah, we know he's a talented guy. He can make all the throws. So just trying to make life hard for him.
When you see your offense start out the way they did, how much confidence does it give the defense? Because when this defense plays with the lead, they're already nasty. It's a thing like, okay, how this is gonna.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we're always gonna try to do our part, and you know, when we know the offense comes out hot like that, we know it's gonna be a good day. So they definitely set the tone for us.
You know, really can bring up that more, you know, that aggressive style and, you know, take it up a dial, you know, and bring some heat when we want to, and, you know, we can play back and play zone or match, there's just, when you get a lead like that, there's a lot of things you can do, and it's, you know, the ball's in our court, and that's when it gets really fun.
Cody, have you ever scored a touchdown going backward into the end zone?
No, I have not.
What was that moment like?
You know, I knew there was a lot of space. I just, you know, once the lineman missed me, I think there was number 87 was running after me, Moreau, but I knew there was some space, so I just turned around and wanted to celebrate a little. First NFL touchdown, so I wanted to, you know, just kind of soak it in, I guess. I don't know. Just kind of having some fun.
Couple more for Cody.
Sean touched on how banged up they were, you know, just at a bunch of spots. But you guys were without your best player, so how much did that change what y'all
Wait, say that again?
Without Pat? How much did that change the approach, I guess, today?
Yeah, it's just when a player like Pat goes down or a player like Alex goes down, you know, the whole group needs to step up, and you know, I feel like everyone did that tonight. You know, you lose some good leaders like that, and it's just, you know, everyone needs to, you know, tighten nuts and bolts as you will, you want to call it, and just, you know, elevate their own game and do it as a unit. And you know, I feel like tonight it was the whole team, you know, elevated their game.
Well, you hear there from Cody Barton, and listen, Broncos country, enjoy this. Don't wring your hands about it. Does Bo Nix need to develop in the passing game and win from the pocket? He does. But on a Thursday night game, he didn't have to. The defense has some things they need to clean up, but for the most part, they dominated a rookie quarterback and a bad team. If you are going to be in the hunt and play meaningful games in December, you have to beat bad teams. They did that. And again, for the last 8 years, it feels like the Broncos have been the get-right game for other teams. So there is progress here. And if you want to get caught up in the fact that Bo Nix didn't look the part as a passer, have at it. I'm just telling you, understand it was a Thursday game where there was no practice. So they did what they had to win the game. Now, if he goes out there and looks like that against Carolina, that's when you start saying, okay, what's going on here? Are we going to see Zach Wilson at the end of the season so he can throw the football? I mean, but for now, he's 4-3. He's protecting the football. He's avoiding sacks. He's a dual threat. We understand for him to take the next step, he has to climb the pocket. He has to be more accurate. He's got to win from the pocket. But savor this for one day. Enjoy it. Broncos 4-3. They're in the hunt. They have a chance now to go to 5-3, playing the Dogwater Panthers to put themselves in position going to Baltimore and Kansas City, where if you could split one of those two games, now you got something. Broncos country, you are the best. I could not do this pod if it weren't for Nate Lundy of Mile High Sports. Big A, who's been a little under the weather. We're rooting for A to feel better. Maybe his Mets make him feel better tonight with a big game in the baseball playoffs. RBJ Glass with Jamie Haig. Bet Online, and of course A1 from day one, my man Darby Hoggett. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.